Hello, my name is adammcleod. Today I will be discussing kidnapping. First, let's talk about the issue of kidnapping. Kidnapping defined is false imprisonment coupled with the movement of the victim. One of the most common reasons today for kidnapping is to obtain money ransom. The issue of kidnapping has been going on for many years, and not just in the United States, but in many other countries as well. Kidnapping is simply going global. Over the past 140 years, Americans have experienced regular periods of intense public anxiety about child abduction or kidnappings. A person is guilty of kidnapping if he unlawfully removes another from his place of residence or business. We ask ourselves, what brings someone to actually kidnap someone? And the answer is easy. It is certain motives that could obtain ransom as part of rape, robbery, or murder, to terrorize, to blackmail, and so on. There is no age in kidnapping because at any time anyone could be kidnapped for certain reasons, male or female. There are three main types of kidnapping: kidnapping by a relative of the victim or simply family kidnapping. The second type is kidnapping by an acquaintance of the victim or an acquaintance kidnapping. Finally, the third type is kidnapping by a stranger to the victim or stranger kidnapping. We will try to do what we can, but kidnapping is something that is simply hard to put a stop to. Law enforcement agencies do everything in their power to help stop them or help find the missing persons. Now let's talk about some data and statistics. Every 40 seconds in the United States, a child becomes missing or is kidnapped in different ways. We are in the year 2013, and a pretty interesting stat done in 2001 was 840,279 people, adults and children, were reported missing to the FBI's National Crime Information Center. The FBI estimates that 85 to 90% of those, roughly 750,000 people or 2,000 people per day, reporting missing were children. Family kidnapping is the highest percentage of kidnapping, which is 49% of the time. Acquaintance kidnapping is 27% of the time, and stranger kidnappings are 24%. Family kidnappings are usually done by the parents. Stranger kidnapping victimizes more females than males, and usually they are teenagers or school-age children. Acquaintance kidnapping involves a comparatively high percentage of juvenile perpetrators. Sadly, only about one child out of each 10,000 children reported to the local police is not found alive. However, 20% of the children reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in non-family abductions are not found alive. In 80% of abductions by strangers, the first contact between the child and the abductor occurs within a quarter mile of the child's own home. So obviously this person watches over and over before they strike and attempt to kidnap. Almost all of the potential abductors grab their victims on the street or try to lure them into their vehicles. About 74% of the victims of non-family child abductions are females. 74% of abducted children who are ultimately murdered are dead within 3 hours of the abduction. So it's important that we act quickly. Over the years, the number of missing children have gone up. About half of the kidnapped children in the United States are between the ages of 4 and 11 years old, and 74% of them are girls. The FBI receives 2,000 missing people every day, which means 2,000 people have gone missing today, 2,000 people will go missing tomorrow. One source tells us Justice Department statistics of kidnapped children in America indicates the risk of abduction by a stranger is relatively low for preschoolers, but increases through the elementary school and peaks at the age 15. Teen girls are considered most vulnerable. A very interesting fact is that 42% of all unidentified bodies found in the U.S. are found in California, even though the state has only 12% of the nation's population. Around 100 children who are abducted and murdered in the U.S. each year. Around 60% of all child murder abductions are at the hands of someone the child knows, not a stranger. In around 75% of all murder abductions, the child is believed to be dead within 3 to 6 hours of the abduction. 7 in 10 children will walk away with a stranger despite being warned. So as a society, we have We have got to teach our kids better about not associating with strangers. For every successful stranger abduction, there are many failed attempts of kidnapping someone. Based on our own monitoring of news reports, we would estimate that around 20 failed attempts for every successful kidnapping. Now let's change subjects and talk about relevant research. There are many reasons to why family kidnapping occurs, such as they are dissatisfied with the custody decision in court, they have been denied visitation for not paying child support, they are protecting the child and or themselves from abuse, they are angry with the breakup of the relationship, they are angry with other parents, new partner, or their new lifestyle. Kidnapping is one of the most serious crimes against a person. A large number of kidnappings arise after a divorce happens, because when one parent wishes to keep the child, may not be able to, and it angers them. In 2010, the United States was ranked 6th in the world for kidnapping for ransom. Kidnappings have a major effect of not only the child, but the family as well. Also the community too. Child abduction is equivalent of a nuclear blast to a family. In many ways, having a child abducted and not ever knowing his or her true fate is worse than the child's actual death, says researcher Mark Gato. A kidnapping is the type of abduction that is harmful to the child both physiologically and physically, and can have serious effects on the child as well. Many of these kidnappings also involve some type of sexual activity to the victim, and this is why a majority of the victims are females. One very interesting fact is the word kidnapping is a variation on the term kidnapping, which was a practice that originated in England when children were nabbed by entrepreneur pirates who sold them to rich tobacco plantation owners in colonial America. One thing that is very useful are called Amber Alerts, and they are very useful in helping find missing persons. Now let's talk about some current practices and policies in the criminal justice field. There are many practices and policies that are indeed helpful to these kidnapping cases. One that was already mentioned is one of the most popular is the Amber Alert, in which a text message is sent to everyone's phone in that certain area to help find the missing person. Amber Alerts were signed into law by George W. Bush in the year 2003. Amber Alert stands for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. From an investigative standpoint, child kidnapping is one of the most emotionally charged and difficult criminal cases for the law enforcement officer, and time is the merciless enemy because stats have shown that after 3 hours there is a high percentage that the missing children might be dead by then. Kidnapping is a serious crime, and if caught, the person can serve serious time in prison. The book talks about that kidnapping was a crime in common law, punishable by life imprisonment. Different states handle things differently, so many of the states have their own way of handling these kidnapping cases. A person who is convicted of kidnapping is usually sentenced to prison for a certain number of years. In most states, kidnapping statutes specify that any unlawful detention or physical movement of a child other than that performed by a parent or guardian constitutes kidnapping, so you have to be careful. Federal Criminal Code 18 U.S.C. 1201 makes kidnapping a serious felony offense with prison sentences of 20 or more years, depending on prior convictions and the circumstances of the case. That will complete this presentation. Thank you.